Your old wounds are still controlling what you think of yourself, what you think of your environment, and what you think of your relationships. Without you realizing it, those old wounds that you work so hard to bury are still bleeding into your life, holding you back in ways that you're not even aware of. Your past is costing you more than you realize. Your happiness, your relationships, your future. So today we're going to uncover what you need to know to win the battle going on in your mind. And to my highly encouraging 23 subscribers, that's a big deal for Niece, okay? It's a big deal. You have no idea how encouraging it is to me that you're rocking with Niece. It's my pleasure to serve you, and I'm honored that you're a part of this journey with me. Now, in the last 2 episodes, I gave you 2 deeply personal and powerful examples of my past trauma and how my past shaped who I thought I was. When my father deprioritized my family, his behavior, his patterns led me to believe that I was not as important to him as he said I was. I felt like I was a bother, like I was in the way, unimportant. And as a result, even though I was crushing it in life, my self-identity caused me to reduce myself in ways that were destructive. So why do I keep telling you about how my past experiences contributed to how I thought about myself? It's because my past experiences and how people treated me misled me to believe things about myself that simply were not true. And you are absolutely doing the same thing. Your experiences have led you to believe a lie about yourself. So to answer your question to what you're doing wrong and what you should be doing differently, imagine for a moment that you have a superhero inside of you. Imagine that the superhero inside of you is impervious to harm and endowed with a profound purpose, a purpose to positively impact the entire world. But this superhero won't just awaken on its own. You need to awaken it. I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about the God in you. Every morning you may awaken feeling like just another person trying to make it through the day. But what if I told you that beneath that everyday exterior, behind those eyes that you stare into in the mirror, is an extraordinary being not defined by the limits of your body or the loud cries of your ego. Every decision that you make comes from one of 2 places. Your ego, where fear, lack, loss, and guilt originate, and your highest self, where love, joy, peace, and happiness originate. If you are impatient, if you're judgmental, if you're critical, cynical, if you get angry, if you assume malintent, if you push people away, if you need to be around people all the time, if you feel wounded, vulnerable, or loss of any kind, you are thinking with your ego. When you identify with your ego, you behave in ways that are destructive. When you identify with your inner superhero, you behave in ways that are powerful, influential, and transformative. So here is the one thing that you need to do to win the battle going on in your mind. You need to completely silence your ego. If you silence the ego's voice, the voice that faithfully reminds you of how guilty you should feel, well, then whose voice would you hear? Now we're about to get deep, but I think you can take it. So strap yourself in and put your seat into its upright position. You haven't awakened this inner superhero because your ego has convinced you that God is only accessible if you follow certain rules. Rules that don't really make sense, but they're written down and you want to be right with God and the people who wrote them down. So you follow them so that you can be accepted, which is impossible because your ego has already convinced you that because of what you've done and what you've seen in the past, you're unworthy. So it's a continuous cycle because God keeps tugging at you to awaken the superhero. But your ego keeps telling you that you're not good enough. But that's not true. You have a superhero inside of you. It's strong, it's resilient, it's compassionate, merciful, and kind. And all you need to do to win this battle is to believe that. And the more you believe that, the more your inner superhero will begin to emerge. And you will begin to behave in ways that align with the powerful being inside of you. Until you start to believe that inside of you is really, truly and absolutely a superhero, you will be unhappy, you will be anxious, and you will not have peace. Your life's experiences are uniquely designed to cause you to pay attention to that which is keeping your inner superhero asleep. So no matter what situation you're in, even the dark, dirty ones, your past and your present are not a demonstration of what's happening to you. They are a result of things happening for you. Because this situation is happening to get your attention, not to cause you to panic, but to cause you to let go of what you think this means. We just need to be reminded that we have a superhero inside of us. I just thought of this story. It came to mind, so I'm going to tell you the story. I'm like 17, 18, 19 years old, something like that, somewhere in that pocket. My brother had gifted me his car. And suddenly, people who never showed me any attention were trying to hang out. But because of my past trauma, I was cool with that. I can admit that because I was excited to be invited. So when my distant cousins and their friends wanted me to hang out with them, I was ecstatic. They were not only the prettiest and the most popular, they knew where the biggest parties were, and I was excited that they wanted Niece to be a part of that. So this one night we got all dolled up and we ride into the city. So we're riding around, seeing what we could get into, and while we're making the rounds, we stop at this house where there are a bunch of nice looking guys just hanging out outside, just chilling. Ultra cool. Think Jay-Z, Mark Wahlberg, Mos Def. Okay, just cool. Everybody appeared to know everybody except for me. But I dove in, introducing myself, chopping it up. I have a bunch of brothers, a bunch of male cousins. So honestly, I'm just naturally cool with guys. So I'm talking about being in college. I'm majoring in criminal justice. I'm talking about my grand plans to change the world. And these guys are crowding around me, engaging in this really organic, cool conversation. They instantly nicknamed me the prosecutor. Probably because I was innocently asking them so many probing questions. Lots of laughs, cool vibe. I was so excited that I felt like I belonged. But then nature calls. I whispered to my cousin, I need to use the restroom. So she led me inside. But oh my goodness, as we crossed the threshold to walk inside this house, it was jarring. No furniture, no pictures, thing that suggested that people actually lived there. Honestly, as I think back, there might have been somebody laying on the floor. I don't know. It was crazy. Like it was just crazy. Anyway, my cousin leans in close and whispers, this must be their drug house. The words sent a chill down my spine. What in the world are you doing here? We get outside, we chop it up for another minute, still enjoying the conversation, and we leave. A few weeks later, back at that house. It's the prosecutor. What's up, niece? So all of a sudden, I'm alone talking to one of the guys on the sidewalk by my car. And this guy appeared to be one of the guys in charge. And I knew that because I was putting two and two together, and I was like, okay, this must be the guy who's in charge. Okay, anyway, somehow we're alone talking, and that's when the conversation took an unexpectedly serious turn. He studied me intently. Then with a stern but gentle voice, he asked me, what are you doing with them? You're not like them, he said. You're a leader. We call you the prosecutor, but you won't get there hanging out with them. As if he were talking to his little sister, a younger cousin. In that moment, it was as if he peeled back a layer that I had never dared to acknowledge. He recognized my inner superhero. I realized that this stranger, who I had only met 2 times, saw potential in me that I needed to awaken. A warm gratitude flooded through me as I whispered a heartfelt, thank you. Not only did I stop hanging out with that clique, I never saw those guys again. And while statistics may say that he's either dead or in jail, I'll always remember him as the person who reminded me of the superhero within me. From my inner superhero to your inner superhero. I love you, and God loves you, and God has a message for you today.